Welcome to the Deep Dive. I am genuinely excited to share this with you today because we're plunging into something really fundamental, the architecture of how we communicate in English, the very art of sentence making.
It sounds basic, maybe, but it's huge.
Exactly. It's a skill that, when you really get it, transforms not just what you say, but honestly, how effectively you connect with the world around you. Imagine, navigating new places or getting complex ideas across in a meeting, or maybe just sharing a great story with friends and doing it all with, effortless clarity.
Right.
In today's world, everything's so interconnected that kind of precise, confident English communication, it isn't just nice to have. It's a direct path to so many opportunities.
Absolutely. It opens doors.
It really does. So our mission for this deep dive is to give you a strategic shortcut. We're distilling the most powerful insights from our sources, a really comprehensive guide to sentence construction, so you can build sentences with newfound precision and, impact. We're going beyond just the basics to really uncover why certain structures work so well and how you can wield them effectively.
Yeah, getting under the hood a bit.
Okay, let's unpack this with a true sense of discovery.
And that's exactly the spirit we need here. This isn't about, just memorizing grammar rules like in school. Not at all.
Right.
It's about understanding the foundational logic, the why behind effective English expression. That's what empowers you to convey your thoughts, your intentions, even your personality with real confidence.
Confidence is key.
Totally. So we'll explore the core structures, sure, but maybe more importantly, we'll dive into their practical application. We're hoping for some of those aha moments, where seemingly complex patterns suddenly reveal their underlying simplicity and power.
Love those moments, absolutely. So let's start at the very beginning. The bedrock, really, of almost every English sentence you'll ever hear or say. And this isn't just some basic rule, it's the dominant pattern. It's the most efficient, the clearest way English tends to organize ideas.
The foundational blueprint, subject-verb object, SVO.
You're talking about SVO.
Exactly. Subject-verb object, SVO. If English sentences were like DNA, SVO would be their double helix. It's everywhere, it's elegant, and incredibly functional. When you grasp this, truly grasp it, you've basically unlocked the primary key. You can understand and generate countless English expressions. Think of a simple one. The dog, subject, chases the ball, object.
Classic.
It's clean, it's direct, and the meaning is just instantly clear, isn't it?
No ambiguity there.
Now, you probably know these parts, but let's just quickly refresh our understanding, looking at it through this lens of clarity. The subject, that's the performer of the action, right? Or the thing being described. It's the who or what the sentence is really about.
The star of the show.
Yeah. Then the verb. That's the action itself, or maybe the state of being, what the subject does or is. Pretty straightforward.
The action, yeah.
And finally, the object. That's the receiver of the action. It's what the verb is acting upon. This predictable, consistent SVO pattern, it's such a hallmark of modern English. And it's very predictability. That simplifies things massively, both when you're listening and when you're trying to speak.
Right. What's fascinating here is why. Why did SVO become so incredibly dominant in English, and why is it still so effective?
Good question.
Well, if you look back, way back to Old English, word order was much more flexible, a bit like Latin or German today, maybe, where the endings on the words carried a lot more of the grammatical meaning.
Oh, okay. Inflections.
Exactly, inflections. But over centuries, as those endings sort of simplified or just disappeared, English had to adapt. It shifted towards a more fixed word order just to maintain clarity.
Makes sense. Need some way to know who's doing what.
Precisely. And SEO emerged as the most direct, the most efficient way to convey who is doing what to whom. This fixed order, it drastically reduces ambiguity. It allows for faster processing in the listener's brain.
Interesting.
When you hear an English sentence, your brain almost instinctively looks for the subject, then the verb, then the object. It streamlines comprehension. So it's not just a grammar rule, it's like a fundamental cognitive shortcut.
A cognitive shortcut. I like that.
Yeah, it makes English very direct. And that's why really internalizing SVO is the critical first step for anyone aiming for that crystal clear communication.
That makes perfect sense thinking about it that way. Like the language itself evolved for efficiency.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's make this a bit more hands-on. Instead of just, super basic examples, let's explore how incredibly versatile this SVO structure really is. Let's take a slightly more nuanced base sentence and see how just small tweaks within that SVO frame can create totally new meanings, maybe even different emotional feelings.
Good idea. Let's play with it.
Okay, consider the sentence. The artist, subject, painted verb, a vibrant landscape, object,
Oh.
clear, descriptive, right?
Yep, got it.
Now, what if we wanted to change the focus or the implication? Let's keep the verb and object the same, but switch the subject. Instead of the artist, what if we said the student? The student painted a vibrant landscape.
Ah, okay. Different feeling immediately.
Right. Suddenly there's a different implied skill level, maybe a sense of learning, or even like youthful energy, perhaps.
Yeah, the context shifts.
Or, okay, let's keep the artist as the subject and a vibrant landscape as the object, but let's change the verb. What if the verb wasn't painted, but imagined? The artist imagined a vibrant landscape.
Ooh, nice. Completely different meaning.
Totally. Now, we're not talking about a physical thing being made, but something internal, conceptual. The shift from painted to imagined, it just transforms the reality being described.
From canvas to mind.
Exactly. And one more. Let's keep the artist painted, but change the object. Instead of a vibrant landscape, what if the object was a portrait of her mother? The artist painted a portrait of her mother.
More personal.
Way more personal, right. It's not just a different subject matter. It implies a deeper connection, maybe a whole story behind the art. Do you see how just tweaking one element in that basic SVO structure can completely reshape the message? Adding layers of meaning, even emotion, it's really dynamic.
It really is. And this raises an important question. Why is this kind of precise clarity in sentence construction so vital? Not just for basic understanding, which is obvious, but for like real-world impact.
Yeah, beyond just getting the idea across.
Exactly. When you're speaking, especially in, say, professional settings or trying to persuade someone, your goal isn't just to be understood. It's often to influence or convince, maybe inspire.
Sure.
A clear subject, verb, and object ensures the listener gets your intended meaning right away. It reduces any mental effort, any cognitive load on their part.
Frees them up.
It frees them up to focus on the content, the implication of your message, rather than struggling to just figure out the basic structure.
Good point.
Like, consider the difference. You could say, I helped with the project. Okay, fine. A bit vague, though.
Yeah, helped could mean anything.
Right. Versus saying something like, I led the data analysis phase of the Q3 marketing project, which resulted in a 15% increase in lead conversion.
Wow. Okay. Big difference.
Huge difference. The second example, while still built on a core SVO structure, is packed with specific details. It doesn't just inform, it persuades. It paints a clear picture of your contribution, your specific role, and the actual tangible outcome.
Leaves no doubt.
Exactly. That level of specificity isn't just about being precise. It's about making your message hit harder, resonate more effectively. It builds trust, establishes credibility. And from your side, as the speaker, knowing you can convey such nuanced info with that kind of clarity, it massively boosts your confidence. It lets you engage more authentically, more strategically in any conversation.
Adding depth and detail. Expanding your sentences.
That distinction is powerful. Informing versus persuading just through how you structure the sentence and the details you include, that leads us really nicely into our next step. So we're solid on the SVO core. Now, how do we take those clear, basic sentences and make them, well, captivating, more expressive, more deeply informative?
Like adding the color.
Exactly. Adding the color. This is where we learn to add depth and detail. Think of adjectives, adverbs, all kinds of phrases.
Yeah.
They're like the layers and textures that turn a simple outline into a really vibrant, multidimensional scene.
Flesh it out.
Let's go back to that artist example. The artist painted a vibrant landscape, solid SVO, but maybe we want to really transport the listener into that moment or say more about the artist's technique or the setting.
Give it life?
We can expand it a lot. Imagine this. The talented artist painted a vibrant landscape with sweeping brushstrokes, capturing the morning light cascading over the rolling hills.
Nice. Much richer.
Isn't it? Now we know who the artist is talented. We know how they painted with sweeping brushstrokes. And we know what specific elements were captured that morning light on the hills. It's not just more information. It feels like a whole sensory experience.
Precisely. And the power of that specificity, that descriptive language, it has a profound cognitive and emotional impact. When you carefully add details, you're not just adding words, you're activating the listener's imagination. You're painting a clearer, more vivid picture right in their mind.
Yeah, you can almost see it.
And that vivid imagery, it significantly helps comprehension and, maybe even more importantly, it improves memory retention.
Yeah.
Your message goes from being just abstract information to something much more concrete, almost an experience.
Does it stick?
Exactly. Adding details isn't about making sentences longer just for the sake of it. It's about achieving precision and really boosting engagement. It shows you thought about the listener, you're trying to make your thoughts as accessible and evocative as possible.
Evocative, good word.
And think about this. Beyond just single adjectives and adverbs, English has these incredibly powerful tools for adding concise detail through phrases. Think about participial phrases like, running quickly through the park, the dog chased the squirrel.
Okay, I see. Running quickly modifies the dog.
Right. It adds detail without needing a whole separate clause. Or appositive phrases like, Dr. Evelyn Reed, a renowned astrophysicist, presented her latest findings. That bit in the middle, a renowned astrophysicist, gives immediate crucial context about Dr. Reed.
Like a little definition tucked in.
Kind of. These aren't just grammatical tricks, they are linguistic shortcuts. They let you pack more information, more nuance into a single thought. Makes your communication both efficient and deeply descriptive. This is where language really comes alive, It lets you transport the listener right into the core of your thoughts or experiences.
Transporting the listener. I really like that framing. And those phrases, participial and appositive, they're great examples of packing in info without making the sentence clunky. Okay, let's try some collaborative expansion practice. Let's start with a slightly more complex SVO this time, maybe, and see how many layers we can add. Start concise, then build it up.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, our base sentence. The team celebrated their success. Pretty simple.
Straightforward.
All right, first step. Let's add an adverb. How did they celebrate? Maybe loudly. So, the team celebrated their success loudly.
Okay, got the how.
Now, let's add an adjective to describe the success. What kind was it? Maybe it was unexpected. Now we have the team celebrated their unexpected success loudly.
Nice. Adds a bit of story.
It does, right? Next, let's throw in a prepositional phrase. Tell us where this happened. How about in the conference room? So the team celebrated their unexpected success loudly in the conference room. Getting longer, more specific.
Building the scene.
Exactly. And for one more layer, let's try adding one of those participial phrases you mentioned to describe the team, connecting it to their achievement. How about having worked tirelessly for months?
Adds context. Good one.
So the full sentence now reads, the team, having worked tirelessly for months, celebrated their unexpected success loudly in the conference room. Feel that transformation.
Big difference. From 6 words to a whole narrative.
Isn't it great? From a simple statement to a detailed, evocative scene. Each addition gave more context, more imagery, deeper meaning. Okay, let's try one more, maybe aim for a different kind of detail. Base sentence. The old building stood.
Okay, very bare bones.
Yeah. What can we add to describe how it stood? Maybe silently? The old building stood silently.
He's in a mood.
It does. Now let's add an adjective phrase. Paint a clearer picture of the building's condition. How about covered in ivy? So the old building, covered in ivy, stood silently.
Getting more visual.
And finally, let's add an adverbial phrase. Place or time. Let's go with place, at the edge of the forest. So the sentence becomes, the old building, covered in ivy, stood silently at the edge of the forest.
Evocative. You can picture it.
Fantastic work. You can really feel how those details change a static image into something vivid, almost cinematic. And this isn't just about sounding, more fluent or fancy. It's about making your expression more precise, more engaging. It lets your personality, your unique view, shine through your language.
Mastering different forms, common sentence patterns.
Absolutely. Precision and personality.
So we've got the basic SVO down. We know how to add those rich details. But language is more than just individual words and phrases, right? It's about how we connect whole ideas together.
The architecture between thoughts.
Exactly. Sentences themselves come in different architectural patterns.
Yeah.
They serve different purposes, convey different relationships between your thoughts. Mastering these patterns is like adding whole new sets of tools to your communication toolbox. It lets you express a much wider range of ideas with greater precision, clarity, and rhetorical impact.
Different tools for different jobs.
Precisely. So we're going to explore 3 common archetypes now. Simple, compound, and complex sentences. Each one has a unique function, offering different ways to structure your arguments, your stories, whatever you're communicating.
Okay. Simple, compound, complex.
Yeah.
Got it. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, understanding these different patterns is so crucial because it gives you strategic control. You can intentionally match the complexity of your thought to the structure of your expression. That intentionality, that's what really elevates communication from just functional to truly effective.
Matching thought to structure. I like that.
Let's start with simple sentences. By definition, these have just one independent clause. And just a quick reminder, an independent clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb, expresses a complete thought, and can stand alone. Like, the market fluctuated.
Short and sweet, complete thought.
Exactly. Direct, complete, unadorned. Simple sentences are incredibly powerful for making direct statements, for emphasizing a point, or for delivering quick, impactful bits of information. Think of them as like the hammer blows in an argument. Maximum clarity, maximum punch sometimes. They're the essential building blocks, foundational impact.
The building blocks, okay.
Next up, compound sentences. These represent a step up connecting related ideas. A compound sentence has two or more independent clauses, remember. Each could stand alone, joined typically by a coordinating conjunction.
The F and voice.
The and voice, exactly. For, and, nor, but, or, yet so. And each one carries its own subtle meaning, right? And adds but contrast, so it shows a result, yet shows a kind of concession. Consider. The market fluctuated, and investors grew anxious. See? The market fluctuated, complete thought. Investors grew anxious, also a complete thought. The and just links them logically, showing an additive relationship.
Okay. Connects to equal ideas.
Exactly. Equal importance, usually. They're great for showing balance, addition, contrast, without losing clarity. They create a more conversational, fluid flow, linking related ideas smoothly. Very efficient for the listener.
Makes sense. More flow.
Then finally, we get to complex sentences. Now, these are arguably the most sophisticated tools for showing intricate relationships between ideas. A complex sentence has one independent clause, the main idea, and at least one dependent clause.
So the dependent clause can't stand alone.
Exactly. It has a subject and verb, but it doesn't express a complete thought on its own. Its meaning depends entirely on that main independent clause. These dependent clauses usually start with subordinating conjunctions, words like because, although, while, if, when, since, or sometimes relative pronouns like who, which, that.
Okay. So one main idea and then extra info linked to it.
Sort of, yeah. But the extra info shows a specific relationship. For example, investors grew anxious because the market fluctuated wildly. Investors grew anxious is the independent clause, the main point. The because clause is dependent how. It tells you why they grew anxious. It shows that clear cause and effect relationship.
Ah, okay. Cause and effect. That's powerful.
It is. And there are different types of dependent clauses, each adding a specific kind of nuance.
Oh, like what?
Well, you have adverbial clauses. They act like adverbs, telling you about time, place, manner, cause, condition, concession.
Right.
Cause. The project succeeded because the team collaborated effectively, tells you why. Condition. If we analyze the data thoroughly, we can optimize the strategy. Sets a condition, concession. Although the initial budget was tight, we managed to secure additional funding. Presents a contrast or exception. See the different relationships.
Yeah, definitely. Because if, although really change the meaning.
Right. Then you have noun clauses. These act like a noun in the sentence, often as the subject or the object of the main verb. Like, we know that the deadline is approaching quickly. The whole that clause is the thing we know. It's the object of know.
Okay, acts like a thing.
And adjective clauses, also called relative clauses. These act like adjectives, modifying a noun or pronoun, like, the report that you submitted yesterday was highly informative. The that clause tells us which report. It modifies report.
Got it. Describes the noun.
So complex sentences are invaluable. They let you convey not just what happened, but why it happened, or under what conditions, or in relation to what else. They allow for much deeper explanation, more nuanced arguments. They really reflect more intricate thought processes, showing a deep understanding of the topic.
That breakdown is super helpful. Seeing the different clause types really clarifies how much precision you can get. Okay, let's try building some. It's one thing to hear it, another to actually do it right. Let's aim for sentences conveying slightly more complex businessy ideas, maybe.
Good idea. Let's apply it.
Let's start by creating a compound sentence, connecting two significant but distinct actions.
Yeah.
Our first independent clause. The research team finalized their initial findings.
Okay, complete thought.
Now, second independent clause. A subsequent related action. How about they immediately began drafting the comprehensive report?
Also complete. Makes sense as the next step.
Right. So put them together with a coordinating conjunction showing sequence or addition, like and. The research team finalized their initial findings, and they immediately began drafting the comprehensive report. Boom. Seamless connection. Two complete ideas linked.
Clean. Logical flow.
Now, let's level up. Create a complex sentence. Use a subordinating conjunction to show a clear, logical relationship. Our independent clause. The company decided to pivot its marketing strategy.
Okay, main decision.
Now, a dependent clause explaining the reason for this pivot.
Yeah.
How about, because market trends indicated a significant shift in consumer preferences.
The why. Perfect dependent clause.
So combine them. The company decided to pivot its marketing strategy because market trends indicated a significant shift in consumer preferences. That because clause adds the crucial context, right? The causal link, much deeper meaning.
Definitely explains the rationale.
Fantastic work. See, you just strategically built both a compound and a complex sentence around some pretty standard business ideas. And this isn't just grammar homework. Using a variety of structures like these makes your speech more dynamic, less monotonous, sure. But more importantly, it helps you convey sophisticated thoughts way more effectively, more precisely. It really shows a richer command of English. Lets you express complex ideas with clarity, persuasion, and frankly, undeniable style.
Real-world scenarios, sentences, and everyday situations.
Substance. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, so we've covered the SVO foundation, adding depth, mastering different patterns. Now let's shift focus to something maybe even more critical, actually applying these skills, using them in common, high-impact, real-life scenarios. Because, let's be honest, the goal isn't just to know the rules, it's to use them confidently, naturally, in any conversation, meeting, presentation.
This is really where the rubber meets the road, isn't it? Where knowledge becomes power. Having that deep intuitive grasp of sentence structure isn't just about correctness. It gives you the mental framework for quick, confident, really effective responses in all sorts of social and professional situations.
Takes the panic away.
It really can. When you genuinely understand how sentences work, you spend less mental energy just trying to translate in your head and more time actually expressing your thoughts with precision and practicing these real-world scenarios. It helps automate the process. It helps build that muscle memory. It reduces that hesitation that trips up even advanced learners sometimes.
Yeah, that hesitation can be killer.
Totally. And it dramatically increases your fluency, your naturalness in conversation. For a learner like you who values getting knowledge quickly and applying it thoroughly, this part is pivotal. It's about turning that theoretical understanding into a real, tangible communication skill you can use every day.
Exactly. And the great thing is, while every situation is unique, a lot of common interactions rely on pretty predictable, adaptable sentence structures. Once you get familiar with these basic templates, you can confidently tweak them for countless situations.
Having those frameworks ready.
Yeah. So let's walk through some slightly more advanced, maybe more impactful scenarios and the practical phrases and structures you could use. And as I say them, really try repeating them aloud. Focus on internalizing the flow, the rhythm. It helps with pronunciation, sure, but it also makes the sentences feel more natural, more readily available when you need them.
Good tip. Say them out loud.
Okay, scenario 1. Yeah. Imagine you need to give constructive feedback to a colleague, maybe about a proposal they wrote. You don't want to be blunt, right? You need nuance. Professionalism.
Tricky situation sometimes.
It can be. So instead of just, this intro is weak, you could say something like, I appreciate the thorough research you've conducted for this proposal. However, I suggest we refine the introduction to strengthen our core argument before the client presentation.
Nice. Starts positive, uses however for contrast. Clear suggestion.
Exactly. It uses that compound structure. Affirm first, then offer a clear, actionable suggestion. Effective, respectful. Okay, let's try a few more. How about explaining a complex process to someone new? Clarity and logical flow are everything here.
Step by step.
Right. You could try this. First, we meticulously gather all available data, which then undergoes a rigorous analysis phase before we can draw any definitive conclusions about market viability.
Ooh, complex sentence there, which then undergoes and before we can draw.
Yep. That which then undergoes is an adjective clause modifying data, and before we can draw is an adverbial clause of time. It keeps the steps sequential and logical. Very clear structure for a process.
Very precise.
Okay, next scenario. Making a nuanced request or negotiating. Maybe you need something, but you have to acknowledge the other person's constraints.
Balancing act.
Definitely. You could phrase it like this. While I completely understand your team's current resource constraints, our project's tight deadline necessitates a rapid prototype development, unless there's an alternative approach we haven't considered.
Wow, okay. Starts with concession, while I understand. States the need clearly, then opens the door. Unless...
Exactly. Complex sentence again. The initial concessive clause shows empathy. then the main request. Then that conditional clause invites dialogue. It's sophisticated, persuasive, but also collaborative.
Very effective structure for negotiation.
Remember to repeat these aloud. The more you actually say these structured thoughts, the more ingrained they become. They'll be right there, natural, when you need them in a real, maybe high-stakes conversation. This isn't just about speaking. It's really about thinking clearly. And precise sentence structure. That's the foundation of clear thinking.
Navigating the tricky bits, overcoming common challenges.
Thinking clearly, that's the core of it.
It really is. So as you go on this journey, building more sophisticated sentences, it's totally normal to hit a few bumps in the road. Every single learner does.
Yeah.
At every level, it happens.
Oh, absolutely, part of the process.
But here at the Deep Dive, we don't see these as like impossible walls. They're actually really valuable opportunities to understand things more deeply. Knowing what to watch out for and understanding why it's tricky. That's honestly half the battle won right there.
That's absolutely right. Demystifying the why behind these common challenges, it turns that frustration into, okay, now I get it, into actionable insight.
Exactly. So what are some of these tricky bits?
Well, let's start with word order. We keep coming back to SVO right now. But while English generally sticks to it, its strictness can be a real hurdle, especially if your native language is more flexible with word order.
Yeah, I can see that. Mixing it up could sound strange.
It can lead to confusion, ambiguity, or sometimes even completely change the meaning. But the key insight here, internalize SVO as your absolute default setting, your home base. And crucially, understand that even when English seems to deviate, like in questions, where you often put an auxiliary verb first, do you speak English? Or in passive voice, the report was submitted by the team, these aren't just random changes.
They follow rules too.
They follow highly predictable, consistent patterns, always. Mastering the base SVO allows you to then logically figure out and correctly use all these predictable variations. If you know the basic dance step perfectly, you can then learn all the fancy turns and spins with confidence.
Okay, learn the base, then the variations make sense.
Exactly. Then there are tenses. Yes. The notorious English tenses.
The big one for many learners.
It is. The challenge is that English has this rich, sometimes maybe bewildering array of tenses, and using the right one is absolutely essential for conveying precise timing, duration, completion of actions.
It's not just past, present, future, is it?
Not at all. It's also about how an action relates to other actions or time periods. For example, I have eaten breakfast feels different from I ate breakfast.
Right. Yeah, the first one feels more recent or relevant now.
Exactly. Have eaten, present perfect, implies a completed action with present relevance. Ate, simple past, just refers to a specific past event. The solution. Think of tenses as tools for consistency and specificity in your story or explanation. If you're talking about last week, stay consistent with your past tense verbs unless you deliberately need to shift perspective to now or the future. Practice noticing those subtle meaning shifts. Aim for that internal consistency in your sentences and your paragraphs.
Consistency is key. Got it.
And finally, let's talk vocabulary. The challenge here isn't just having enough words, it's having the right words. The ones that express yourself with a specific nuance, the right level of formality, the register, the intended emotional tone.
Finding the perfect word.
Right. A limited vocabulary can lead to repetition or vagueness. It can make your speech sound less engaging or maybe even unintentionally blunt sometimes.
Yeah, using the same simple words over and over.
Exactly. The solution is to embrace vocabulary expansion not as some separate chore like memorizing lists, but as an integral, organic part of making sentences. Don't just learn words in isolation. Learn new words within sentences. Even better, learn them in collocations, words that naturally hang out together in English.
Collocations,
Like you don't usually do research, you typically conduct research. You don't just have a strong argument, maybe you have a compelling argument or a robust argument. See the difference?
Okay. Words that naturally pair up.
Precisely. This approach gives you greater nuance, greater precision. It stops you from repeating the same phrases and makes your speech way more engaging, more impactful, more expressive of your actual thought. Actively look for new words and then immediately try to use them in context. That's one of the best ways to build a really rich, functional vocabulary.
Learn them in context, use them immediately. Great advice. Those insights are really valuable, especially emphasizing consistency with tenses and connotations with vocabulary. The why really does make the how clearer. Okay, let's put one of those tricky bits, tenses, into practice right now. It's genuinely amazing how just changing the verb form shifts the whole timeline. I'll give a simple base verb, and let's explore how its tense changes everything.
Okay, let's do to lead. Good verb.
Right. So simple present tense. She leads the weekly team meeting. What does that tell you?
It's a regular thing, a habit. Happens consistently.
Exactly. Now, simple past tense. She led the team meeting last Tuesday.
Done. Finished. Specific event in the past.
Perfect. What about the present perfect tense? She has led several successful initiatives this quarter.
Ah, okay. Started in the past, but it's relevant now, or it continues up to now. Focus isn't on when exactly in the past, but the experience or result up to the present.
Exactly right. The result matters now in the past perfect tense. By the time I arrived, she had already led the critical brainstorming session.
Okay, so 2 past actions. Had led, happened before arrived. It establishes the sequence.
Perfect. You hear those shifts? Leads, led, has led, had led. Each one carries a precise time meaning, sets the context. Practice noticing these, how the verb changes, how the context demands a specific tense. With conscious awareness and practice, it absolutely becomes second nature.
Putting it all together, practice and next steps.
It really does become intuitive over time.
It does. So we've covered a ton of ground today. The SVO foundation, expanding with details, mastering different patterns like simple, compound, complex, applying them in real-world situations, even navigating tricky bits like word order and tenses. But here's the real secret sauce. The absolute key to making all this amazing knowledge actually stick, transform, and become truly intuitive.
Practice.
Active application. Practice, yes, but active practice. The deepest, most lasting learning doesn't come from just passively listening, does it? It comes from actively creating, actively experimenting. So it's time to put these concepts into deliberate practice through some concrete exercises.
That's absolutely right. The cognitive science behind language learning is crystal clear on this. Consistent, deliberate practice works. It's not just about remembering facts. It's literally about building new neural pathways, building muscle memory for the language.
Muscle memory for language. I like that.
Yeah. When you consistently construct sentences, especially writing them down, and even more powerfully, speaking them aloud, you solidify your understanding. You turn that abstract linguistic knowledge into a fluid, usable skill.
Makes it real.
It does. This active engagement creates stronger connections in your brain. It makes retrieving and applying these structures faster, more automatic. And don't be afraid to experiment. Don't worry about making mistakes or having to correct yourself. That whole cycle, trying, analyzing, refining, that's a vital, essential part of deep learning.
Absolutely. Embrace the process, mistakes and all. Experimentation and consistency, those are key. So, for you, our dedicated listener, here are some thought-provoking practice prompts. Tackle these right after this deep dive, or maybe even pause now if you can jot notes down. Take a moment, think about them, then write your sentences out and crucially say them out loud. Articulating them makes a massive difference.
Hear yourself say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, prompt 1. Describe a complex problem you recently solved or observed and explain how it was resolved. This is a perfect chance to use those compound and complex sentences. Maybe show some cause and effect, use rich descriptive language. Think about the layers of the problem, the sequence of the solution.
Good one. Real application.
Short pause, prompt 2. Explain a new concept you just learned, maybe even something from this deep dive. Explain it to someone who's totally unfamiliar with it. Simplify it, but keep it accurate. This really pushes you towards clarity, logical flow, maybe strategic use of simple sentences for key points, alongside complex ones for the details.
Teaching reinforces learning.
It really does. Yeah. Short pause and prompt 3. Discuss the pros and cons of a significant decision you or your team made recently. Provide context. Talk about the implications. This one will challenge you to use those contrasting conjunctions, however, although to provide reasoning because, since, maybe articulate potential outcomes using future tenses.
Balanced perspective. Good challenge.
Short pause. Seriously, take the time, write these down, speak them aloud. It will make an incredible, tangible difference in your confidence and your fluency. And speaking of interaction, now it's your turn to really connect with what you've learned. Think of one sentence you've created today, maybe from our practice just now, or just one that resonated with you during this deep dive.
Just one sentence.
Short pause. Got it. Now, take that sentence. If you feel comfortable, share it with a friend. Actually say it to them. Or maybe just write it down. Journal, note on your phone, whatever. This simple act of creating and then sharing or recording it, it's a powerful, concrete step. Solidifies the learning.
Makes it tangible.
You could even share your sentences with us on social media. Use the hashtag #StartSpeakingToday. We would genuinely love to see the amazing insights and sentences you come up with. Creates a bit of community, too.
Nice idea.
So, What does this all mean for you, the learner, as we wrap up? Please remember this above all. Deliberate practice isn't just helpful. It is absolutely indispensable. The more you consciously practice making sentences, building them with intention, paying attention to detail, the more natural and automatic this whole fundamental skill will feel. It will truly become second nature.
Integrate it into your day.
Yes, make it a daily habit, even just a few minutes. Create sentences. Describe your day to yourself, maybe narrate your morning commute in your head or out loud, articulate what you see around you. And please, 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 never forget to speak out loud. Articulating your thoughts verbally reinforces everything in a way that just thinking or writing can't quite match. It builds that crucial muscle memory in your mouth, your tongue. It aligns your mind with your speech. And honestly, it does wonders for building confidence. The more you hear yourself speaking correctly, precisely, the more confident and impactful you'll become in all your communications.
Hear your own success.
Exactly. Thank you so much for tuning in to the deep dive today. We truly hope this extensive dive into the architecture of English sentence making has given you profound insights and genuinely practical, actionable tools. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep embracing the incredible, transformative power of language.
And as you continue on this journey, mastering English sentence construction, maybe consider this final provocative thought. Sentence making goes way beyond just grammar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
At its most profound level, it's the very act of framing our reality.
Framing reality. Interesting.
Yeah. Think about it. Every deliberate choice, subject, verb, object, every adjective, adverb, every carefully placed complex clause, it actively shapes not just what we convey, but how our thoughts are perceived, how we influence others, how we build deeper, more nuanced connections.
Language creates our world, in a way.
In a very real way. So the question to maybe mull over is this. How does the conscious way we construct our sentences, moment by moment, shape not just what we say, but authentically who we are in the world? And how does this pursuit of precision, this clarity in language, empower us to truly lead?